In this video, I want to break down exactly the structure I'm looking for using moving averages and the consolidations. I want to do this because I see some people have some questions about the $1 million setup. So if you haven't watched the entire playlist, make sure you go back and check the playlist, watch those videos first, and then watch this one. So what we're going to do is break down one. We're going to start with a live trade example. And I took this out of request for one of the subscribers and wanted to see how this works and what a live trade really looks like. So here we have the pound dollar, and this is near the end of the session. I've taken this trade here just in the TradingView app just to make a point of the setup. Time of day for me isn't right. It's near the end of the session, but what I'm looking for is always this consolidation into a moving average, and you can see how it's holding above the moving average, and it's a nice tight range. And what happens? Well, if I circle this here, you're going to see it. We had this breakout bar right here. And these are often great setups to continue higher, to help continue that trend higher. This is pretty much the exact picture that I'm looking for. And I want to show you what that looks like more on a micro scale. And you can see here on this trade, if we look over to the 1 hour chart, which is on the left-hand side, I'm really targeting just before the highs of the 1 hour structure. So we'll see if that happens or not. I'm just going to hold this trade till either the stop or the take profit is hit. We'll find out together. And you can see how if you look at this structure here today, this is on the pound dollar. You can see every time this has happened, right? Every time this has happened, we had a rally in price. Let's look here on the 5 minute. We had a rally in price. The market basis, right? We got this nice base basically into a 20 EMA, a rising 20, right? That tells us there is a strong trend in place. Buying opportunities are around the support level, and if you miss that, near the breakout highs, and that resulted in a huge move up. And then you can see the market sold off, and we started building higher lows into the 20 EMA again, and then the market had a slight rally, sold off. This is what I really want to dig into here, because this is the important part. When the market sells off, what does it do? It tries to get a bid up, and this little pattern right in here, you can see we're finding support on the 20 EMA. We're above the 20, and it's starting to rise, and then it breaks out. We get another pullback, market goes sideways into the 20 EMA. These are textbook setups. Now, what I want to do is show you what that looks like on a few other markets to really hit this point home. And let's start with oil. And the reason I want to show you oil, if you watch the moving averages video from like last week, we're looking at how moving averages work. So I'm just going to switch this to a 4 hour time frame, which you can see right here. I'm going to blow this up. We're going to zoom into this. So on the moving average video, the previous one, we were talking about how the previous rejections off the 20 EMAs all got bid up, and the 50 EMAs. And what we said in that video, or what I said, was that we needed this sell-off that was happening. I believe that was right here on this day. We need this sell-off for oil to push higher. Sure enough, that's what we have. Oil's breaking new highs. But let's take a look at this. What did we have? I'm just going to delete all these lines off the chart, and we're going to look at this structure here on a 4 hour. The reason we're doing it on a 4 hour is because I know lots of you don't have time to look at the markets all day and sit in front of the charts. So the market found support right here, basically right on that 50. And then we started building, a nice tight range right here along the 20 EMA. And it held above the 20 EMA. We had a false break here below the 20 on this 4 hour. And it was just a nice tight range, generally with higher lows. So, and then the market broke up, and now we have that breakout happening right now where oil's now at $73. So you can see how it kind of surfed. If I just kind of highlight this for you, you're going to be able to see how it surfed the 20 EMA here, right? And it's a fairly tight range when we look at that. So we're building higher lows minus this false break. We're building higher lows into the level. So that's the setup, period. It's a beautiful setup. So that's what it looks like on a 4 hour time frame. And I got a few examples here that I want to show you on some other markets. So here's the Aussie yen today. Let's take a look at this. So one thing we learned in that last video was that when we see this relationship here where on the 1 hour chart that we're kind of building these ranges into the 20 EMA, and then price continues to sell off, right? We noticed that pattern, went over it in the last video. And then when that pattern shifts and we start building higher lows into a rising 20, that's generally a signal that we want to start looking for the trend to change. And sure enough, what happened? Well, we built these higher lows off a rising 20 through a level of resistance, breaks out, the market shoots higher. Generally, the first stop for the market to shoot higher is the 50 EMA. And so that was a good reversal play for those of you who spotted that. Okay, so let's look at another one. And these things can unfold any number of ways. This is one I was watching this morning. And the reason is, if we look at this on the 1 hour chart again, we're on the dollar Swiss. You can see we built nice tight ranges into the 20 EMA, right? This was just short of it. We had a bit of space there. Would have been nice for that to be a little bit tighter, but you can see we had a nice level of support, pretty clear level of resistance above, into a rising 20 off of a huge move up. This is textbook. And then we had the same type of setup here. I'm just gonna close that alert. And that was a little bit tighter. So this is a very strong trend, and we continued this type of pattern here, all right? It was always into the 20. We're building a base into a rising 20 EMA. What happens here? Well, you can see I had an alert set, and we're building another base into a rising 20 till about here. And then what happened? Well, you can see here, instead of using the 20 as support, we switched to using it as resistance. So this is the picture of a breakdown about to happen. Right, super tight range, and then price breaks down, boom, and now it's been selling off pretty much all day since then. Okay, so that's what we want to be looking for when we're we want to look to trade each one of these moves higher. How do you do that? I think I've went over that in a few videos. We're looking to either buy off the lows or buy on break, right? Okay, so let's look at the dollar Canadian, and you can see a similar setup here. The whole way this thing's been moving up, and let me just highlight this again for you. Like, this is how markets move. We get right here a decent level of support. We're basing into a rising 20, super strong move up, and you can see how that plays out. These trades where we get these sharp moves down, these are a lot, like I'm going to circle this for you. This is generally a lot harder to trade than this. Super easy compared to that one. So I like to look for these strong bases into a 20. Again, another super tight range right here into the 20 EMA. Our breakout, when we look at this is going to get a little bit technical. So let's just take a look at this up close. So we have a swing high here with resistance, and we also have this swing high here, which is inside the structure, right? So we always have an option of taking a trade on break of this level and break of this level. And also, if we're able to spot it, which does require more skill, the pullback here into the 20. So there's the three opportunities there that I wanted to share with you. And then you can see the Canadian dollar here. I'm going to just erase some more of this. You can see here on the Canadian dollar, this was building higher lows. But then what happened? We get this massive bar here in the opposite direction. And all of a sudden our 20 EMA is now sloping down. All right, so let's zoom in on that on a 5-minute chart. We're going to take a look to see what this means for us on a day trading setup. So we know our short-term momentum is downwards. So let's look at these patterns on a micro. And I don't necessarily recommend trading the 5-minute because you really can only watch a couple instruments at a time when you're trading these because the setups happen so fast. So here we go. We have a kind of some levels here. You can see we get a nice tight range again into the 20. Breaks down, pulls back to our level, breaks down again. We get our next tight range into our 20 right here. And the same thing happens, breaks down, boom. Hasn't been back since. So you have to be really in front of the keyboard or the screen all the time to be trading this on a 5-minute. It doesn't mean it's the only way you can trade it. The hourly is just fine. The 4 hours fine. and the daily is also fine. All right, let's look at a couple more markets here, and we're looking at these from today. So here we go. We were in a downtrend. Let's look at the left-hand side. This is our 1 hour chart. We had this massive downtrend, boom, right here on the New Zealand yen. And you can see we had the same relationship with the 20 EMA. We're sticking to the below the 20, below the 20. And then here we're surfing the 20. Price broke down again, went to our previous double bottom, right? So we had a double bottom here and just barely shot past it, reversed up. And what do we get? Well, we get this kind of consolidation at the 20 that's sloping up, that's below the 20. So I don't necessarily like that, but then when we break up above it, you can see I even had an alert set there. Here it is. We get a nice tight range into a rising 20 EMA, and then it breaks out, boom, price hasn't been back since. So this is how markets move. It doesn't really matter the instrument, as long, liquid instruments, I should say. And here's this trade here, just in case you guys want to see how that's playing out as I'm doing this video. It's doing its thing. It's late in the day, so expect some choppiness. All right, let's look at this one now. So here's a nice example on the Swiss yen. So we had super tight consolidation into the 20, boom, sells off, super impulsive move, right? Bam. And then you can see I had previous support and resistance lines here, right? Built sideways just in front of the 20, breaks down again. You could argue this was another level here, not nearly as clean. And then obviously I was watching this level last night, right? Nice tight base into the 20 and breaks down again. There's an outside bar, breaks down, boom, decent trade off of that. But then what happens? Price reverses back up. And now we have ourselves a rising 20 EMA. What do we have here? Nice tight range into a rising 20 EMA. Rallies out of it, and now we're above the 50. It looks like we might be building another range right here. We'll have to see how that plays out over the coming hours. Okay, so hopefully this is making sense to you. Like, this is how markets move. So we can just take any one of these. We're going to see these setups all over on the daily, on the hourlies, right? We can look here on the 5-minute chart. Boom, we get the reversal. Same type of setup again, and same type of setup again, right into the 20, and boom, shoots up higher. You notice one thing in common. The important part is the move that we get before it moves into the 20. This is super important. Nice, strong move. Boom, look at this. We're building higher lows into a rising 20 EMA. Nice tight base, breaks out, shoots higher. So hopefully this is making sense. We'll look at a few more markets to really get this point home here. What I'm going to do is pull up Bitcoin because everybody loves Bitcoin, and it gives us a few other things to talk about here on what's been happening with Bitcoin. So, and one of the things that we talked about in the previous moving averages video is that when these things sell off, we want to look at the relationships it has with the moving average. Some markets are going to have a relationship with the 50 EMA. So here's Bitcoin on the hourly. Let's look at this 50, right? We push past it, then straight down. And then into the 20, same type of setup. Now, if we look at this setup here, what did we have? These get harder to trade. These get quite a bit harder to trade. There's a lot of chop in here. It's not that clean. But what should be drawing your attention here is that we did push past the 20 EMA. We're almost into the 50, and we're building lower highs into the 50, right? And then sells off. What do we get? A pullback right to the 50 EMA here. And let's just zoom in on this. You can see again, we're building these lower highs right into this 50 EMA, and then super tight, breaks out right here. Price sells off straight down. Now you might be thinking maybe you trade higher time frames and you trade a 4 hour. So where's the opportunity in these 4 hours? I'm going to erase I'll leave the markings on this chart. So this is a level of resistance that previously had marked off. And look what happened. Price rallied up here, boom, and starts building a base of lower highs right into the 200 EMA. That's the blue line. That's the 200. And it's also against a resistance level. So this gave us lots of opportunities to sell, maybe on this pin bar, maybe on this break here. But you can really start to see how that plays out. So hopefully this is making sense to you. And I think copper had another setup here this morning. So here's copper on the 1 hour. We did have, or let me just change the settings here. So this is a kind of a market that was transitioning here this morning. You can see the momentum shift now. It's really easy to see now because we're at it's already happened. But while this was happening, let's look at what was the personality of this in its recent price action. So same thing, tight consolidation into the 20 and rejection off of 20, tight consolidation right here into a falling 20, right? Printing lower highs, and it breaks down. But what did we have before? Similar into the 50. Okay, so we know that this has a propensity to do that. And if we take a look at the previous kind of highs here on copper, we had a massive momentum shift here. And that's what should be drawing our attention. So if we zoom in on this, you can see pretty tight range. And then we start building these lower or these higher lows into a 20 on a 5-minute chart right there. Boom. And this is a counter trend trade. So a person's never looking for a bigger profit target when you're trading counter trend. But you can see that it did ended up breaking out of this triangle and the resistance level, and price has never been back all day since then. So that's the setups. That's how you spot them quickly. You're looking for the rally in price, a tight move into a 20, and a continued move afterwards. So it is a continuation setup. And what we want to do is make sure that we're trading the biggest movers, right? We don't want to trade slow markets. This is a momentum strategy. It is a continuation strategy for the most part. And we want to make sure we're trading markets that are actually moving, because if you're trading the slow markets, you're going to have a lot harder time trading those markets because they're going to chop around sideways on you. So you can see here, this is another one, pound yen today that I was watching. What did we have? Well, we were below the 20 the whole time, and we finally closed above the 20. So our next stopping point is at the 50. You can see here I had my lines drawn around the 50 EMA, and we started building sideways into this, and we had a very, very good rising 20 and 50 EMA. So what did this give us? A nice base right here. We built nice and sideways into that rising 20 EMA. Had the breakout top of this bar here. Price hasn't been back since. That's what we're looking for. My preferred entry would have been had this wick here come down and false broke that level, or this one, but neither of those happened. So the important thing is that you recognize which moving average is the market respecting and where are your levels of support and resistance. So I just want to make this to wrap up the setups. It is simple, but it's not easy. And if you want to trade them on a 5-minute chart, you're probably going to have to pick 3 or 4 charts and just watch those for the day, right? And make sure that you're on top of those markets. So with that being said, I think that wraps up this video for me. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And if you want one more example, here we are. I'll show you the euro yen. Same thing. You can see the levels that I was watching right here. Boom. We started building sideways. Look at this nice tight structure into the 50 EMA. And previously we had a nice tight structure into the 20. And if you're wondering why there was no trade off the 20 EMA, right here, there is no tight structure on the 20. That's just a straight pullback into the 20 EMA. I don't want to touch those. I want to look where the area of value is, right? And try and trade with the momentum, with the short-term trend. So with that being said, that wraps up this video for me. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions, and look forward to answering them.